Hello, it's Christine here for another episode of the Radiant Achiever Show. And today I am so excited to bring to you someone who I met a couple years ago, and we've gotten to know each other a little bit better over time. And I'm excited for our conversation today. Her
Mhm.
name is Laurie Morse. And let me give you a bit about her. She's got a pretty impressive background. So hi, first and foremost, hi Laurie, glad you're here. I'm gonna smile all over you here with your bio. So she is the founder of Sacred Health Academy, and she's also a best-selling author of Reverse Heart Disease Naturally: The Woman's Guide to Not Die Before Your Time. Love that subtitle. And she has a master's degree in traditional Chinese medicine and is the director of holistic health services in San Diego, California, which is where we're both coming from. She has, which is a 25-year private practice dedicated to support wholeness, however imperfect that may be at times, through natural medicine. And she really weaves combinations of energy medicine, acupuncture, herbal therapy, hormone therapy, nutrition therapy, along with spiritual disciplines like quantum chi breath work, metaphysics, and creative health programs to awaken cellular intelligence. Like, I love every time we have a conversation, I'm always learning something new, which then allows us to heal, right? The power of our bodies. I so love that that's what you do, Laurie. She's also a certified intentional creativity director or teacher, sorry, and I think we may hear a little bit about that, and holds an art degree, a degree in art and the creative process. So she's truly a guide, walking with women over this bridge of where that woman currently is to where she needs to be to correct her health, to correct and prevent health problems in order to thrive in the second half of life. Yes, I'm all for thriving in the second half of life.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Laurie, for being here. I am so excited to see you again, and also to have this conversation with all our listeners and viewers.
Likewise. Yeah.
Good, good. So what do you say we dive in? You know
Let's
me,
do it.
I'm like a let's dive in.
Let's do it.
So and we chatted a bit before we started. This show is all about hearing stories of women like yourself who have said yes to a calling, and I know you've said yes to many callings in your lifetime. So
Mhm.
I'd love to start, if this feels good for you, what is that calling that you're pursuing now, and why is this calling important to you?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I have pursued many callings, and the common theme to pursuing a calling or saying yes to a calling is listening to higher guidance. So I'll just
Mhm.
start with that. But the current one is this marriage between creativity and healing, which also represents the like closing the gap between our humanity and our divinity. So we all know our humanity is all the things that we live through day in and day out. And, mostly spirit centered women are aware of their spiritual side, but how to weave that together in everyday life isn't always as easy as we, would like it to be. So I have found, I've been kind of nibbling off of the smorgasbord of healing options for 40 years. And one of the things I have found to be the most profound is creativity. And I kind of stumbled into it because when I was going through menopause, like, I don't know, 18 years ago, I'm 60 now. When the doors sort of flung open and I realized I was not the same woman that I was the day before. And it was a really rough ride for me. And I thought I was really kind of taken. I was blindsided by that. I was taken aback because I thought that being in the healing profession that I would just sort of have it all together, and I didn't. And it was really a rough ride. And it was creativity that kind of was my lifeboat, to be honest.
Mm,
So yeah, I now know, like, how when we know things in every cell of our being
right.
that this is a thing, and I'm one of the people. I'm not the only person, but I'm one of the people to facilitate this work on the planet right now. The other thing I love about it is that it allows for those of us who engage in a creative process to be an instrument or a vessel for the divine feminine, because
Mm,
creativity comes from that part of the source of all life, right? There's the
Right.
masculine and the feminine part of the source of life. And I just I don't even know what else to say. I love it with
Mm,
every cell of my being. And,
interesting.
did I answer the question? I
Yeah.
kind of,
Well,
yeah,
I want to ask you a couple things that there are a couple things that jumped out. So if I'm hearing you, it sounds like when you went through menopause yourself and whatever you faced, dealt with,
yeah.
you found creativity to that it helped you, and you engaged in what kind of creative things did you do? Because I think of creativity to me can be all kinds of different things, and maybe there are different things. I'd love to hear
Well,
from
there, yeah, here's the thing I've come to learn is that the all of life is a creative impulse. And
you.
so if we're extensions of the source of life, we also have a creative impulse. A lot of times, women will hear or people will hear, oh, I'm not, about creativity, and they right away say, I'm not creative. I can't even draw a stick figure. They just take themselves out of that equation, right? Almost instantly. But what I know is that that part is less important. We're not talking about creating for the walls of the Smithsonian or for a gallery opening or any of that kind of thing. The intentional creativity teaching piece that you said, and you said, oh, I think we'll hear more about that. There's there's elements to creativity that we can actually be intentional about in
Mm,
order to facilitate the healing or the transformation, or of energy, of old past wounding, of symptoms that won't go away. So I
yeah,
had tried everything I knew to try, which is a lot for my menopause stuff.
yeah.
And some stuff got me, but I still was like so far from, like it wasn't meeting the mark. I was still feeling horrible. So I just started doodling, honestly. And I had some stuff, and I just started painting watercolor pages in a mixed media journal. And then I'd write on top of them, and I'd use watercolor pencils to write down the ways I was feeling. And then I'd paint it out to kind of transform it. I mean,
Wow.
I just listened to my heart, and she guided me. And then I got the formal stuff going.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah.
So your journey of listening and allowing that creativity to not try and have it be any one thing, just let whatever was coming out guide you, I guess it's
Yeah, and I only did that because I was desperate. I didn't do it because I was smart enough to listen. I just was desperate, right? So then I realized I started feeling better,
huh.
and things started shifting. And then I thought there's something, and then it just kept kind of domino
Right.
affecting from there.
And
Yeah.
and then there's formal education that you or that whatever education you went through to learn this.
Yeah, then I got obsessed because I'm like, this is something, and so
And so
I
I want
studied them.
I would love to hear. So you said you got obsessed, because different women feel and hear things in different ways. Whether it's connecting with your intuition, or it is truly getting that divine guidance, or something big like you've got to pursue this. Tell us how did you experience that?
Yeah, so that the feeling of being obsessed for me was I just felt really inspired
Mhm.
by everything that was happening through me, and then what I was learning, and hearing other women's experiences of how their stuff, like healing was happening for them. And I thought, oh, this is my passion. This is like I get that this is now part of my mission as I move forward. I feel like it's like going to be the rest of my life, kind of thing.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I didn't know that 30 years ago when I stepped onto the path of Chinese medicine. I just thought, oh, Chinese medicine, it's so good. It's such a good modality, blah, blah. But I had no idea what was, 30 years forward on the path. And we don't know those things. And
No.
I knew when menopause started to hit, I knew something was going to change and shift, but I couldn't get my finger on it. And being in the cocoon, the chrysalis thing of before you're a butterfly, all that was long, and I and I couldn't see, and
Yeah.
it was
There's
really
a lot of
uncomfortable.
mush going on there for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
it I only came out the other side little by little, I think. And part of it was resistance, to be fair.
I
Part
was
of it was
going to ask you
afraid.
about that. Yes, yes. Because
Say again?
I was going to ask you about that because oftentimes when we start to connect with something and get excited, and it kind of turns us on, wakes us up, and lights us up, we can self sabotage. So I was going to ask if you went through any of that. Um,
Oh, I still go through it. I mean, I think from what I've discovered, talking to other people who engage creatively, they, it's like every time we start something, there's some resistance, and I have come to the place that I know resistance is going to be there. So it's not a question of if it's going to be there or not. It's a question of, am I going to listen? Am I going to invite it along? Am I going to use it as an energy to, to fuel the thing I want to do? More like that kind of thing. You had asked earlier about different ways to create. I just want to come back around to that, because literally we can be creative in any way we choose. We can do it through dancing, through planting a garden, through setting a beautiful table, through cooking, through an intentional way we have a creative conversation with our teenage child. There's so many ways. We're already creative anyway.
Right.
Of course, when we bring color and image and line to a page, so to speak, that's what people mostly think of as creativity. But there's really, it's much broader than that. And I just want to make sure that listeners, like, I don't know, stretch open their ways of seeing how we are already creative in many ways.
I love that. I love that. And one of the things that I actually got into, I always had wanted to take dance lessons. So when I was at this kind of reawakening of myself and reclaiming my health and my life and all of that, and I allowed myself to let those creative impulses come up, like dance was one of the things. And it was scary because I would be such a beginner and I felt, oh, I'm so much older than other people, but that has been just a beautiful, beautiful outlet for me.
Yeah,
I,
it's true. And one of the things I'd say here too, Christine, is that it is literally, so I connect to my higher presence, and I envision that she's like the feminine face of God, right? So it's like divine love to me. Now, I don't think everyone needs to do it. Everyone needs to find their way that they connect to the source of life, whether they call it nature or life force, or, doesn't matter.
yeah.
But when I connect to her, and because I do too take dance classes, and when I was younger, like I would perform when I was in my late teens, early 20s, and it was always about, oh my God, how does this look? What are they thinking? All that. And now I started dancing about 5 years ago again, and now I don't care what anyone thinks. It's like I am dancing for the divine, and this is fun, and I don't care, and it is just, like it's for me and my relationship. So when I ask her to help me get past resistance and just start, the creative process, or just do it anyway and not care, because I can always, kind of clean it up along the way, or whatever the, thing I'm doing. I get that support.
Mhm.
And that matters to me a lot. It teaches me to trust.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm so lit up with your whole story here. I don't, we'll go on to the next question, but I know I could dive into multiple elements of what you just said there. So, we talked a bit about how you felt this calling, and what you talked about resistance being an obstacle, and it continues to be an obstacle. Is there anything else that you would say was kind of a big stumbling block from really stepping fully into
Yes,
creative?
I would say the piece about not being enough.
Mhm.
And it's like, it has been with me since I can remember as a kid.
Mhm.
And I didn't know how to with it, or walk through it in specific situations. But again, in my connection with higher presence, she just teaches me the truth. And the truth is, here's the thing: if we can just kind of like do the timeline, or I don't know, the math of it all, right? It would be like, okay, if we're extensions of creative life force herself, and that energy is already love, right? Because
Right.
we know that the quantum unified field is the fabric of the universe is love, and you and I are an extension of that. Then that's what I am too. So there's no such thing as a not enough in all of that. So it's only my mind that plays that game, right? So
Right.
when I lift my mind up, or I invite that light into my mind, then transformation happens, and I can just take the next step. That's all I'm looking for, is taking the next step.
Step. Beautiful.
Yeah.
You're touching on some powerful things. And what's coming up for me as I hear you say it, and I love how you explain it, is more and more we as a collective world, the more we understand what you just explained,
Mhm.
the healthier,
Changes the world.
happier the world will absolutely change.
And
So
honestly, it's interesting you bring that up. That is why, that is the whole reason I do my work, is
uh,
because of the ripple effect.
yeah,
Because I know that as every human being is even just this much more liberated, let alone this much more liberated,
right, right.
it changes the collective consciousness.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally,
Yeah.
totally. Well, and the second piece I wanted to go back to, because it really hit me, was that good and not good enough. And again, if we look at the collective and how we've been all conditioned to whatever it's in our careers, in our homes, things have to look perfect, be perfect. We have to achieve for a specific reason. And when we're in creativity, it's just joy and for however it unfolds. And there's no grade, there's no comparison. It's almost a divine gift that we give ourselves
Exactly.
moment to express ourselves in whatever pure way is wanting to be expressed in this particular creative moment.
Agreed, 100%.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. I love,
Absolutely.
love, love it.
And
So
the more we do that, the more we get to, like, I don't know, maybe it's a training of our, building the muscle,
yeah,
training that, oh, I'm not this person, and I'm not, but I'm me, and I'm unique, and it's okay that I am imperfect, and it's okay that I have flaws. I'm just going to be my expression. That's all I have the energy to pay attention to.
you actually, I found when I started doing exactly what you said, I actually got a lot of energy because
Yes.
we don't realize how much baggage we're dragging around with us, like bag after bag, and it's all linked together, and it's
Right.
heavy, and we have no time. And this, I'm saying this about me, I had
Yes.
no time to be my most creative, connected, authentic self because I was carrying around for many, many years a lot of baggage of other
Yeah.
stuff that wasn't even mine.
Well,
So
you're speaking for all of us,
yeah.
right? Honestly, yeah, totally. But it sounds like so, dramatic, like, oh, one
Yeah,
day you
yeah,
wake
yeah,
up, and it's not. It's like every day it's a choice to say,
mhm,
let me just do this one thing
yeah,
and show and give my mind evidence that not only is it safe, but that it's nourishing, because
right,
we make choices all day long, and they're either, siphoning our energy or um, giving us energy.
right. So
Mm.
would you prescribe for everybody, like we brush our teeth and we meditate or we exercise, we eat healthy? Would you prescribe some form of creativity every day?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm,
And it doesn't have to be that someone has to set up a big old art studio. It could just
right.
be, a printer paper and a highlighter, or a coloring book, or, very intentionally putting color on a plate for the next meal. Or,
Right.
I would recommend that people just write down all the ways that they might consider to play in this. This is a
Mm,
permission to play piece, right?
yeah.
And then go into it with that intention and in connection, because honestly, I get everything from my connection. It's like, oh, that's such a great idea, I never would have thought that. Okay, let's
Oh
do
yeah.
that.
So there's
And
so much more wisdom
yeah,
we can access that's not
totally.
in this, left brain here when
Yeah.
we just open ourselves up. I'm laughing a little bit because a couple weeks ago I went to Staples and I bought this really cool pack of highlighters, and they're
Uh-huh.
smaller and there's all these different colors. And so
Huh.
when I did my plan for this week, I highlighted all like these different categories in different colors, and just that perked me up as I was looking at my plan for the
Fun.
week.
Yeah, that's so fun. Yeah, I love it.
Good
I
stuff.
love it.
Okay. So I'd love to chat a bit about what has shifted in you since you have been on this journey of pursuing that calling of intentional creativity.
You
Give me,
mean in terms of my personal healing?
well, it could be
Or
anything. Like inner shifts, outer shifts in your life, just
right,
what's
right.
because we evolve when we say yes
Oh,
to those
yes.
callings.
You're
So
absolutely right. I guess I would start by saying, if I didn't say yes, I would be in a lot of pain and suffering, like most days. And I don't mean to laugh at that, because I know a lot of people live that way, but we all do that until we just can't do that anymore, and then we say yes. But what has evolved and what has shifted is that I don't know, I guess I feel like I'm more full, I'm more filled up with who I really am. And they call it the FU50s, right? Once you get past 50s, it's like you don't care as much anymore. You can just sort of
Right.
say yes when you mean yes and no when you mean no, and carry on without all the guilt and shame and all that stuff, right? So I feel really liberated for that. And I have healed stuff in my body and in my emotions
Awesome.
that I honestly don't think would have moved if it wasn't through the creative process specifically, because it just creating alone gets past the gates of the mind and drops into deeper places of our subconscious, which is where it needs to be healed, right?
Yep.
And it happens in such a graceful and beautiful way, you know?
Exactly what I was thinking as I heard you. Yeah.
Really?
Mm,
Yeah.
yes. You weren't, I mean, I'm sure there was stress, but so many times we think the solution is out there with a
Totally.
pill or a yet one new
10 years of therapy or,
whatever. And I'm not saying that there isn't a time and a place.
of course.
However, and one of the things I love about our conversation is the answers, the power is most often all in here, and we can get wisdom, support from divine source, our higher self, whatever you say it.
Right. And when we are in that connection, that's like building any relationship, right? Like we don't marry someone until we've had a long time before we're, first dates, next dates, all the things. And so, I consider cultivating my relationship with my divine self like that, right? Like we're closer now, we're sleeping together. But at first I was really leery, like what is this? And how does it go? And how is it gonna roll in my life and all that stuff,
Right,
right? Like I don't want to be turned upside down and
right, that fear of the unknown. And I think that's why
exactly.
a lot of people will resist things too, is because they think things they don't know the answer, or things could get worse. They fear it will get worse and they can't handle it. And
Right.
so I love what you said too, is just, this doesn't have to be you go buy an art studio or you go do all this crazy stuff. It's just what's one small thing that you can
Right.
do today. And I love it. It can be as simple as how you set your plate. One of my favorite things is when my son cooks for me, or we'll cook dinner periodically, and he arranges the plate like you were going to a restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so beautiful, and it
It's
just brings a smile
beautiful.
on my face and a little ting to my heart. So you don't
Yeah.
realize in that busyness that there are these beautiful moments that we can take.
Exactly. And you're saying something that was the second part of the other question you just had.
Yes.
What I've gotten out of this? What I've gotten out of this is walking the beauty way
Mm,
and
walking.
being intentional about creating beauty or leaving beauty behind
Ooh,
on purpose.
ooh.
And that matters in the world right now.
Oh, I love that,
Yeah.
Lori. Walking
Yeah.
the city way. I love that.
Yeah. It's a spiritual principle and it comes from, ancient, like more uh, Gnostic Christian tradition, but
Okay.
it matters.
Right. It totally matters.
Yeah.
Totally matters. Awesome. Awesome. So, professionally, what has shifted for you since saying yes to this calling?
Yeah. Well, I used to be a one-on-one service provider, delivering treatments of through Chinese medicine, so acupuncture and herbs and all that. And I still do that, but my world has opened up professionally. I do a lot of virtual classes and workshops and trainings, and the Sacred Health Academy is a private academy where women walk however long it takes them, 6 months, a year long journey to basically cultivate their sacred health, because it's actually coded in all of our cells. Every one of us have access to this. We've just never been shown or taught or even told that it's an option.
Yeah. Wow. So you don't just work with women going through menopause. You work with women that have other health issues.
Yeah. I mean, generally, it's a woman either looking toward or in the second half of her life,
Okay.
but it's not focused on menopause. I mean, that's just one
Okay.
slice of the pie, right? It's all things women in looking at or walking in the second half of their
Right.
life.
So
Yeah.
I love that you said your whole world has kind of opened up now
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
this. And I found that for myself, and I love that you shared that, because I think we don't think about that. We tend to just be so narrow focused
Yeah.
on the results sometimes in our life that we don't realize what other, it's like planting a tree and all of a sudden you've got all these other things blooming. And
Uh-huh.
have you found that um, new people come into your life, new
Totally. All the
opportunities?
time.
Yeah, yeah.
All the time. And actually, this is one of the creative processes I did early on around business because I was really frustrated. I was putting out all this stuff and there wasn't a return on my,
Mhm.
putting out
Yes.
kind of thing. And it was because of what you said. I was focusing on like numbers and what I was learning from other people, how I should be doing it. And I was really not as connected as I ended up saying I need, doing.
Right.
And so I did this creative process and I was like, what gives here? And so I did the whole thing. And then there's a part in a creative process where when you feel like you're done, you kind of just take a cup of tea and sit back and look at your piece and ask it what wisdom it wants to impart based on the intention you set and the,
Yeah.
the energy that moved when you were doing the thing. It was very simple what dropped in. It was a very clear, clean piece of messaging that said, you are the bounty. And I thought, because
Ooh,
it made me think of it when you said the tree, and all of a sudden now you have all the, and I was like, oh my God, it took me a couple years to unpack that, right? Like
interesting.
it has to do with a tree of life. It has to do with that's what we each are. We're rooted into Mother Earth. We receive this cosmic life force from above. We're the trunk in between that,
Right.
that literally, and so I had to sort of get right with my relationship that I'm the bounty.
Mm.
And that did take a little bit of time, but it's true. And it's true for all of us.
Yeah.
And
And so
that was pivotal in my business.
yeah. Awesome. I love that. I might have to chat with you more about that offline.
Sure.
I love it. I love it. That's fantastic. So I know. So here, I'm going to ask the question the way I have it written, and you answer it however it makes sense for you, because everybody, there's a lot of the things that we talk about. You say it your way, I say it my way, but we're teaching these
Core truths.
core truths. Thank you. That's the word I was thinking. I was thinking like lifelong principles, if that wasn't the word. These core truths. And so I frame it as inner powers, and our authentic self-worth is a power, the power of mindset, our inner listening, which is connected to our intuition. And so if you were to kind of look inward and or think about your journey,
Mhm.
would there be some kind of inner power that you used, you ignited, you know embodied to help you continue on your journey of following this calling?
Yeah, it's such a good question, right? We could probably talk till midnight, which I'm not, saying we do, but so the the way that played out for me is just a constant invitation to my higher self
Mhm.
to engage, so and initially it was so clunky and so trial and error, and it still is. I'm not, but it's better now is my
Yeah.
point. And I just knew that there was no, I had tried everything else, right? Like there's a point we get in life, and I don't know, maybe it's because of lifetimes, who knows, but it's like this is the only option, so I might as well just go and do that now.
Yeah.
Right, like I
Sit here and talk to her. You're like,
just do it, just, yeah, invite and surrender and surrender and ask and and meditate and just do the, to me it was about doing those things that would allow for my humanity and my divinity to come closer and closer together so that I could live that way,
Yeah.
so that I could live in that weave,
Mm,
and not giving up and insisting upon that.
commitment to self. It sounds like it was part of it.
Say the
Commitment
last.
to self. Your commitment to yourself.
Yeah, my commitment to myself, but also, and I know I keep kind of doing this, saying this, but it's a commitment to that higher self of me because my lower self doesn't know shit. She thinks she does, but she doesn't.
Yeah.
So every time I got all, twisted up in that,
Right.
distraction, I'd be like, okay, well, let's untangle that and come back to center, because it just, as many ways as our human mind has to, pull us off course.
Right.
It's
Right.
so funny.
Right.
Anyway,
Awesome. Well, and I love that you brought yourself back. You're like, no, we're coming back, and you
exactly.
spun out, and you're like,
That's the work.
coming back, right? It's beautiful, and we all have our perfect journeys of how that unfolds.
Yeah,
So, um,
agreed.
yeah, it's I love it. I love it. So the other thing, again, I this is the Radiant Achiever Show. I absolutely feel your radiance. You glow. It exudes from you when you speak about your work, when you share your stories. I see you as a radiant achiever.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What does it mean to you to be? What does being a radiant achiever mean to you? Again, because everybody can have their own definition.
Right, 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 right. Yeah, to me, I think radiance is the light of source.
Mm,
Uh, Literally like pouring forth from every cell. So
mm,
that's what makes radiance to me. And I know the difference when my cells are, closed and not radiating and when they are.
mm.
And I do a lot of work to tend to the radiation of light from my cells.
Love it.
And the achiever part, that's an interesting word because as women in the Western world, in a patriarchal dominant culture that's shifting, of course we know that's shifting, it's still hard to not be, overly productive and push and produce and make and and achieve and get to a certain bar and all that stuff. And have gotten caught by that a lot. And so I really just practice stepping back and just doing what is mine to do,
Mm,
mine to create, and mine to cause, give as contribution and create impact around.
beautiful.
And nothing more. That's my achievement.
Yeah,
And
that is your achievement. Yeah, I love it.
yeah.
I love it. Beautiful, beautiful way to end those questions. So the last thing I would love for you to share with our viewers is a piece of wisdom, advice that is related to if there's somebody on the fence that's not listening to that calling,
Uh,
what advice would you give or share with them to help them step into following that?
yeah. I think the best advice that I have access to in this moment is, just hand to heart, asking their higher self to help them take the next step. The mind wants the whole path laid out so it's secure and how it's going to play out. And I've never had that. I don't know about you.
I
So
tried to do it and it did not go well.
it backfires, right? Like it just puts us back to square one. So hand to heart, even with shaky knees and scared, what's going to happen, just show me the next step.
Hmm.
And then when you're at that step, you can get your balance and calibrate, and then ask for the next step, and just keep taking steps. When I have to make the food, I'm plant-based girl, I eat really healthy, and there's times I just don't want to make the stuff,
Yeah.
but I know that if I just put the bowl out on the counter, that's one step. And then I walk past it and I go, okay, I'll pull the broccoli out, then put the broccoli on that. And then pretty soon it's like, God, just do it.
Yeah, I love this because I am not a lover of cooking. I love eating healthy and I would prefer somebody else to do it for me, but I love that. Just set the bowl out, just do the
One
one.
step. I know for a fact that one step taken
Yeah.
is success. It's
Mm,
worth celebrating. And then when we celebrate that, we get more.
right.
We always get more of what we celebrate and honor and
Right.
give our attention to. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. I love that. Great advice. Great wisdom there. So the last thing before we say goodbye is I would love for you to share your website, and I'll have more details in the show notes on
Right.
if anything of what you said resonate with people. I would love for them to go learn more about you and your work.
Okay. And you don't mean screen share. You just mean tell the link,
Yeah,
right?
just tell the link.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So well, first of all, yeah. So let me tell you the link. It is www.create2healstudio.com. And on the navigation bar on that site, there's a link that says creative health processes. And if you go to that page, you'll see all the research on actually creating has the same benefits. Research,
Mhm.
this is all research, as meditation. So
Wow.
for people who like say, I can't
Wow,
meditate and I can't, my
interesting.
mind won't stop and all those things, creativity is a great
Mm,
way in. It's a great way to
right,
calm and come into Zen and, come into that sort of no mind place.
right.
So anyway, so on that page, there's a bunch of options. And the very first one, called Anatomy of Your Higher Self, is a complimentary process.
Oh, perfect.
It's Yeah, it's just a way for people to say, to say, okay, what's the anatomy of my higher self? How do I make that connection? This is the thing I've been talking about the whole time, right?
Right, right.
And to see if this is how they want to roll. Do they want to play in the creative sandbox? Do they want to just color a page, or do they want to go grab a little watercolor book or a mixed media journal and,
Right,
maybe some pencils and have it on their coffee table so they can do it when they're watching a show or whatever,
right. Oh,
you
I love
know?
that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And I'll repeat this all in the show notes. So
Okay, perfect.
fantastic. Lori, well, I so enjoyed our
Me
conversation.
too. I always love talking to you.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And look forward to chatting again soon on other topics. And that is it for our show today. Thank you for joining us. And I hope you got some great, beautiful, creative nuggets out of this to help move you forward in your journey of saying yes to your calling. Bye for now.